Hello there. How about that? Just come on, like all of a sudden, I just come on. And it's, as Charlie Cairns calls me, only the lonely, because I'm always on my own. Forever on my own, to be honest. But nevertheless, I've got a good show tonight. Good history show, that is. I've got two murders to do. How about that? Two murders. I've got a clip to show. I've got slides to show. Explain about the slides, obviously. And the clip is good because it's all about the history, to be honest. It's all about the history, and I hope you enjoy tonight. I really do, because what else is there? History. History of Liverpool. Maybe the world, I don't know. Let's see how it goes tonight. And it's good evening to everybody, whoever's out there joining me tonight. Anyway, it's Mark Kiddish. How about that? First man. First man. Even if Frank, hope you're well and has a great weekend. Been reading about Josephine Butler. What a woman she was. Yes. A very good woman indeed. She's one of these women, pioneers actually, who was really good. Really good for Liverpool. Really good as an ambassador as well to Liverpool. You know, she's a 19th century person and going into the 20th century. Really lovely person, actually. So that's that. And Neil Brother, the Vampire of Edgehill. Yeah, the Vampire of Edgehill. You know, I'm not doing the Vampire of Edgehill. That's not amazing, to be honest. I'm doing something else, which you'd like. I think you'd like, because my murders that I actually lectured about are very controversial. Anyone in my class will tell you, or ex-students. They are very controversial. It's no use doing a case where it's not controversial. You know, it's a straightforward guilty or not guilty. It's a waste of time doing that. But you actually do murders that there's controversy right in. The Vampire of Edgeley. Even if Frank, hope you're good. Thank you, Lynn. Yes, thank you. I'm getting there anyway, as they say. I'm getting there. Hello, Frankie. Hope all's well, mate. There's a pint, a scotch, 2 thumbs up from Tony Barr. Now, don't forget either as well, it's not the football show tonight, albeit it was a great win yesterday. And it's the podcast tomorrow. It's the podcast tomorrow. I keep getting messages and things, And I just want to thank these lovely people. Where are they? And it's Gap Services who sponsor the Frank Carlyle show. Gap Painting Services, both commercial and domestic. If you're at OAP, great discounts. If you're an NHS worker, great discounts. Really great discounts. And these people, these lads, they're fully time served. They're so clean, precise, quick, everything. And they're fully insured, which is most important, just in case something happens. They're fully insured. So just get these, if you're at OAP, and especially if you're an NHS worker, and you really need something done in the home, no matter how small, no matter how big. Gap Painting Services are the people for you. And thank you for sponsoring the Frank Carlyle show. And I'm not just saying that. I'm really not just saying that either, because they're sponsoring the Frank Carlyle show. They are good people. And also Stephen Snape, even and Frank, hello to everyone watching again. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you. And Mark Kinnish says, Frank, all your DVDs are now in full on YouTube. Been watching them, even the murder ones. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah. It's my sponsor. Hi, Frank. Hope you're well. And our boy Wonder, currently listening in with my dad, having a few well-earned beers. Yes, on a school day, says Andy Gamble. That's who's watching in. And that's here, actually. Look at this. And it's rocking at the oldie. Prizes, raffles, live bands, late bar, and it's a road show. They've gone on the road from the oldie, which is up in Lydiate. And what these lads are doing, they're at the Cavern on the 1st of October. Next week. At the Cavern. It's absolutely brilliant. And I'll tell you what, I bet you're searching around. Of course they are. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a Cavern. And they wouldn't be a roadie if Andy Gamble's Searching. If you've never seen Searching, go there, close your eyes, and you think it's the Searchers. They are that good. Honestly, they are the brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And they're playing at the Cavern next week on the 1st of October. Get down there. You'll have a good night. You really will. Give my regards, Andy, to your dad. Your dad. Brian Ledley. Hope you're all enjoying the show, everyone, with this legend of a man. Enjoy. I'll see you tomorrow night, buddy. Up the Reds. JFT 97. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Thank you for just jumping in and saying thank you. And Neil Broderick, on my granddad's birth certificate, it says his occupation was a carter in Liverpool. So we drove a horse, a big Shire horse. Ken Dodd's dad was a carter as well, believe it or not. Ken Dodd's dad. Brilliant lad, Andy, up the Reds. Brilliant lad, Andy. Of course he is. He's absolutely brilliant. Great fella. Not just a great fella, he's got a great family as well, to be honest. The Liverpool Unseen videos are interesting on YouTube. Thank you, Stephen. I think it's this, isn't it? Unseen. Frank Unseen. Vase of flowers. Even if Frank, even if ours, I might be having you on tomorrow, by the way. I might be having you on tomorrow. It'll be good. So bear that in mind, Lee. Okay. Thank you. Evening, Brian, says Stephen Snape. Likewise, fella. Cheers, mate, says Andy Gamble. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Andy. Thank you, mate. Evening, Frank. Hope you're well, says Charlie Wood. Yes. Yes. Vase of flowers says Shire horses are beautiful animals. They're massive, aren't they? They're really massive. And you don't see too many now. I remember as a child, a little kid running about. And one came along Christian Street. And I was standing there, unbelievable. It was incredible, the size of the big animal. It's like a big beast. And I always remember as well, same again. I was in Christian Street and a circus. And I seen these elephants. And I went like that, just elephants as I was going past. And it was very rough, as I remember. It was absolutely amazing. Sorry, my great-grandfather it was. I'll behave, Neil. I bet it was your, I bet it was your dad. You're not, you know what I mean? You're not giving them an age away. Right. Frank, is it true was reading Liverpool merchants went over to live in Hamilton Square in Birkenhead? I've heard the lairds of Birkenhead has a lot to do with Liverpool as well. Of course they did. Of course they did, Mark. Yeah, of course. See, with Liverpool, the way it was, you're talking like the 18th and the 19th centuries. And over the water in Birkenhead, it was leafy suburb. It was leafy suburb. So they did go over there because they were living in the city centre, the merchants, don't forget. They were living in the city centre. They didn't move out. It wasn't until the latter part of the 19th century they started moving out of Liverpool into the suburbs. But in the early part of the 19th century, they were moving over to Birkenhead, New Brighton, and that's why New Brighton was named, because it gave the feel of the southern county of Sussex. But that's the way it is. That's the way it was then. Even in Vars, lads, hope you're well, fellas, says and Stephen Snave, are you Tommy Batty? I haven't seen Tommy since we got back, unfortunately. Sound, I'll not have the echoing this time, Frank. It was because I didn't close down. Yes, I know that. You'll be all right. You'll be all right, fella. Just popped in, Snapey. I had to pick my son up at the Golf Academy. See you tomorrow night, lad, says Brian Headley. And my grandfather reckoned being head barman in a big pub was a good job in the 40s. Yes, it was. What I'm going to do, boys and girls and everyone else, if there's anyone out there, I know you are, I'm going to do a murder because, as I said, these are controversial murders. And the controversial murders, I'm going to do one now, throw a few little things on and that, talk about it. And then in the second half, I'll do another one. This is short, by the way, and it's involved a Mr. George Walker. He was 80 odd years of age, and he was a retired tailor. And his house which is in where was it? I always get mixed up with this particular place. Anyway, he opens his home as a little antique shop, and it was known as the Curiosity Shop. And what is that? Just the name came to me where it's actually gripped. Oh, I forget the name of the place. Would you believe it? Anyway, it'll come to me. It'll come to me. So he opens it up as a little antique shop, and people used to go to him. But he also sold the likes of valves for radios. You're going back now to the 40s and 50s. But this particular thing was in 1953. What had happened was two young kids from school, before they went back after lunch, went for two valves because obviously their radio must have come out. So the parents sent them around for two valves. They knocked on the door, couldn't get any answer. They just couldn't get any answer from Mr. Walker, or his assistant. So anyway, he went They went back to school. Obviously, went back to their parents. They couldn't get any answer, get the money back, and they just went to school. Now that night, a dog was whining all night long, all night. And the next day, one of the neighbours, phones up Mr. Walker's sister, who came along to the house and couldn't get in. But anyway, she found that she had a key. She forgot all about the key. She opened the door and went in. And there was Mr. Walker lying on the floor, dead, unfortunately. And what was there was the shaft of an axe, and it was covered in blood, covered in blood. So now what you've got, you have to have a suspect for murders. Could be a couple of suspects, could be a gang of suspects, if you know what I mean, a gang together who did this murder. So who did they pick on? They picked on the young fella who worked with Mr. Walker, a lad named John Todd. Now, don't forget, he never opened kids. He didn't open the door because he wasn't there, obviously, when they knocked. Anyway, what had happened was he was arrested, immediately arrested for the murder of George Walker. And when he was brought in, he was charged with the murder. And then obviously the trial came about, and it came on the 8th of April 1953 at St. George's Hall Assizes. St. George's Hall Assizes. And for the Crown, you had a Mr. Edward Wool, Queen's Counsel. For the defence, Miss Rose Heilbron, Queen's Counsel. And the Crown claimed that Walker's blood found on Todd's blue suit and in his inside pocket. And Todd's fingerprints were also on the hand of the axe shaft that was broken, don't forget. And obviously the Crown said he knew about valuable antiques, especially the watches, in Mr. Walker's place. He knew about them. And also about valuable antiques, all these antiques, as I said. Now, why he knew about these antiques, he was actually taught by, I just looked at it. Thank you, Dorothy. I couldn't think. 98 Warbrick more, Frank. Thank you, Dorothy. Mille grazie. Oh, look at him. Anyway, I've got to read these. I'm sorry. I love these. Nice. Mark Doyle. Now, Mark Doyle is a great fella, actually. He climbs mountains, and you want to see the pictures. When he climbs mountains, he climbs mountains onto these peaks, and he takes these unbelievable photographs. And he jumps out of planes and everything, all for charity, all for the charity cause of mental health. He's just a great fella. He's a great fella. He did a presentation here in Liverpool. He's a Scouser, but he lives up in Scotland. And he came down and there was a presentation. And he asked me to present a lad named Stephen Metcalf with, this award. And Stephen is one of the nicest fellas you could ever wish to meet. So anyway, I presented it. Gave a little bit of history about the Bridewell. The Bridewell, that's where it was held. And it was really good. And Redbeard says, "Greetings, Earthlings." Greetings, what's the crack of this? Anyway, I'm going to carry on with this. And what has happened was, his fingerprints, as I said, was on the broken shaft. And also, he had known about the valuable antiques because he was taught by Mr. Walker. He was taught by Mr. Walker. And also what was found was Todd's bloody crepe soles in the hallway. Because in those days, you wore crepe shoes. Everybody wore them. I remember my Uncle Tony, he had these crepe soles. Always remember them. Him and his mates used to come to the house and, you know, they used to go out. I was a little kid, but they had these crepe soles, and that's what it was. It was like Teddy Boy sort of thing, if you know what I mean. And anyway, people saw a tall, young, pale man leaving the house, the curiosity shop, Mr. Walker's home, heavily blood-stained Macintosh. Now, you've got to think about heavily blood-stained. Heavily. Now, he was beaten with an axe, so you can imagine the blood going everywhere, all over the place. And if you've got a Macintosh, you're covered in it, all over. And I'm talking heavy blood stains. Bear that in mind. Bear that in mind. And also, there was a jeweler by the name of Mr. Harrison. And Mr. Harrison has a jeweler's in Dale Street. And he sold Mr. Walker a watch. He sold Mr. Walker a watch. And the watch was found in the possession of John Todd. Just found there. And also what you've got this, you've got the likes of the watch being found. You've got that, right? You've also got the blood stains. You've also got the shaft handle, blood on it, and his fingerprints, don't forget. He also knew about the value of antiques, especially watches, because there was no more watches in the place. There was only one watch, and that was on the repair table because he used to repair watches. And he was doing it at the time. He was repairing a watch. I'll come back to that later. Right, so he was charged. He was charged with the murder. And as I said, he was at the Crown Court, St. George's Hall. And for the defence with Miss Heilbronn, again, what you've got to look at is the lawyers at the time. Miss Heilbronn was one of the very first female barristers at Queen's Counsel. One of the first, and no one liked her, especially the men. They always tried to put one over because she was a female. And she was a good lawyer, by the way. She was excellent. But anyway, she argued the case that he'd never been in trouble with the police. He was only 20 years of age anyway, but he'd never been in trouble. He lived with his parents. He had a girlfriend. He respected Mr. Walker. And he was a churchgoer. Every Sunday he went to church with his parents and his girlfriend. Every Sunday. Now, Heilbronn argued, albeit that the soul of his crepe soul, it was easily explained. And also about the smear of blood on his Macintosh and his inside pocket of his blue suit. It was easily explained. because in Todd's statements and in the witness box, Mr. Walker tripped and fell against the shoulder. That's Todd's shoulder. He tripped and went forward and banged his nose. And unfortunately, what you've got, the terrible nosebleed, because he was also susceptible to nosebleeds, was Mr. Walker. And with him getting on as well, and the cartilage goes in your nose, he just bled profusely. And what Todd did, he just took his handkerchief out, gave it to Mr. Walker to stop the bleeding, and he sat at the bottom of the stairs. He sat at the bottom of the stairs in the home while he went and got a tea towel for Mr. Walker. Ran into the kitchen to get a tea towel while Mr. Walker was holding his handkerchief. And when he came out, he took the handkerchief off and put it in his inside pocket. Now it's got blood. This is fresh blood. He's just given it back. And obviously it went onto his lapel, the blood. If you go like that, and you've got the thing anyway, the handkerchief, you open your coat and you put it in. So it smeared his overcoat as well, but it went inside his pocket. And that's where blood was found, in his inside pocket. And also what they said was that you had coal fires then. And how did you light coal fires? Well, you lit them with paper and wood. So it was always for chopping wood, nothing else, for chopping wood. And John Todd always chopped wood. And that's why the defence said his fingerprints were on. Now you've got to remember, excuse me a minute. So that's what you've got to understand about this particular blood, and the blood on his coat and on his Macintosh. But you must also not forget about the heavily stained person coming out of the house. Tall, gaunt fella. A tall, gaunt, pale looking fella, heavily blood stained, and in a rush. And when he was asked about, excuse me, when he was asked about the watch that was found in his possession, Todd replied, "Mr. Walker gave it to me as a present for the good work I did." And he said, "Here, this is for you, for working hard and learning how to repair and getting the value of antiques." And he did respect the young lad. And in return, so did John Todd respect Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker. And what you've got to think of, that he had no previous convictions and came from an impeccable and profound religious family. Friends, when she was called, what you've got to understand about anything like this is, if you're like an ordinary person, and you've murdered someone, you're clean living. I'm not saying just because you go to church, but you're clean living. You've never been in trouble with the police before. And when he met his girlfriend that night, she said he was all right. They were going to pictures, and they enjoyed the pictures. He wasn't stressed. He wasn't. He wasn't agitated in any way. He was just normal. He was just normal. He was happy. He was with his. He watched the film, came out. He went home. He, went to separate ways, obviously. And he said, I'll see you tomorrow. The next day he was arrested. And she was absolutely devastated that he was arrested for the murder of Mr. Walker, who he called a friend. Not only did Todd call him a friend, but also was mentor. And Mr. Walker called him a friend and a good working young lad. A good working young lad. So what do you think? Was he found guilty or not? Now, don't forget, there was no blood found at all on Todd, especially the shoes. Yet the underneath, the crepe soles, there was splatters of blood on the soles of the shoes. And he said it was easily done because all the blood went on the floor when he banged his head. And a little bit went on his shoulder after him slipping and falling on his shoulder. But it wasn't heavily bloodstained. You've got to think about that. It wasn't heavily bloodstained at all. So how do you think he was found guilty or not? Can you tell me, please? What do you think? Let's see, Adam. Stay, I will see you in the morning, Frank. You will do. You will do. Them religious ones are the ones you have to watch out for. Stay, Dinner juice. Hello, Frank. Hope you're well. Oh, hello, everyone, she says. Oh, not lovely. Lynn Ellis says not guilty. LFC Aaron, not sure, Frank. Not sure, Frank. Okay. Not guilty, Lynn. Yeah. Really. Sounds like William Wallace, Frank, found guilty, but question, was he? And Dorothy Langham says, wonder if evidence will pass the mustard now, Frank. The mustard now, Frank. Sounds like he was stitched up outside, a young man learning a trade, and at what price? Seems unlikely to me that you would murder for a watch. What a name this is as well. Vernon Fleming, guilty. Oh, okay. I'm going to tell you how he got on. And unfortunately, albeit that he protested his innocence and everything else, he was found guilty. He was found guilty of the murder of Mr. George Walker. And what you've got to take into consideration is, how was he found guilty? How? If any Liverpool people remember, I think the likes of Dorothy, even Jenna Juice, even her, and also Lynn Ellis, are bound to know or remember a fella by the name of Harry Livermore. Harry Livermore. And he tried to get an appeal because he said he was completely innocent of the crime. Absolutely innocent. Everything was circumstantial. This lad didn't do the murder, do the investigation properly. But unfortunately, as a peer, he couldn't help him. And Albert Pierpoint was the hangman. Albert Pierpoint. If you don't know who Albert Pierpoint was, Albert Pierpoint hanged more people than anybody else. He was actually at the Nuremberg trials. He hanged loads of them. And I'm talking about in groups. Say like 12 on a thing, and he just pulled the drop. He hanged loads of them at the Nuremberg trials. Loads of them. So Pierpoint, he just asked, he said, listen, son, have you got any last words to say? And he said, yes. I'll have to quote this. And there's the quote. Now you've got to be well up with what I'm going to say here. You really have. And he said, his last words were, will God forgive me for pleading not guilty because I didn't do it? Think about that. He's very religious, and he said, as he's about to die, with a noose around his neck before the hood went over, have you got any last words? Yes. Will God forgive me for pleading not guilty because I didn't do it? That's what he said. That's what he said. And not only that, but Pierpoint, in a very extraordinary and rare, very rare confession, this is Albert Pierpoint. He said, I've just hanged an innocent boy. Even he knew. Harry Livermore knew. His girlfriend knew. Todd knew. His parents knew. Lots of other people knew that this lad was innocent of any crime. Where was the heavily blood-stained Macintosh? Where? He didn't have it. He put his Mac in the cleaners. His Mac in the cleaners because of that little splatter of blood when he went against his shoulder. He sat him right down. And when he took the handkerchief off him to put it in, it just went across his lapel, and he put it in his inside pocket of the suit. And he wasn't agitated. He wasn't doing. If you just murdered someone and you're a quiet fella, really, I mean, there's a young, quiet lad who just went to church every week, made up that he had a girlfriend. And they were out that night at the pictures, enjoying the pictures. You would be agitated. You would be agitated. But he wasn't. He wasn't. He was just calm. He was cool. He was everything. And what about the watches, by the way? There was one watch found. It was what Mr. Harrison sold to Mr. Walker, and Mr. Walker gave as a present to John Todd, because when they searched his home, nothing at all was found. Nothing. Nothing at all. And no antiques, no nothing. So, you know, this is awful. And as Redbird says, that's a sad, long injustice has happened back then. Wait till you hear the next one. But anyway, what you've got all these people who looked at Pierpont as the greatest hangman in history because he didn't like to see them suffer. You've got to get the rope exactly right. You've got to get the weight exactly right so you could have a swift death. Anyway, so that was that case. And I don't think, well, I'm not saying I don't think. I know that that lad was innocent. I really do. Anyway, I'm going to show you some little prints which will lead us up to 9 o'clock. We'll have a little break, and in the next hour, it's a longer case. What I've got next, a longer case of murders. I want you to have a look at this just before I go on. This is going to be played also at the Cavern. This is also going to be played at the Cavern. And it's again, it's on the 8th of November. And it's all for a great cause. I mentioned mental health before. And people do a lot of charity work for mental health. And this one is for people who we don't know about, who are just going around. You know, you might think that they're okay, but unfortunately, because they take their own lives. And it's a prevention against suicide. It'll be a great, great night out. And who you've got on is Billy Butler. Billy Butler. Daniel Taylor, friend of mine. Daniel is a great actor, singer. He's everything, Daniel. Dan, he's a smashing fella. He'll be there that night. Liam Halewood, Neil Tudor, Ivan Stacks, another great singer is Ivan. Lovely fella. Married to a cousin of mine is Ivan. Yes. Pauline Daniels. Pauline is one of the great actresses of Liverpool. She really is. She'll be there. And she's a good comedian, by the way, as well. A good comedian. It's Pauline. Great actress, great comedian. And a good singer, by the way. She's everything. Miss Sammy is there. X Factor finalist, Brooks. X Factor finalist. I say that's shock. Brooks is on there. I've got to admit, I don't know. I really don't know the X Factor people. Don't watch it. But anyway, that's on Wednesday, the 8th of November, 2023, and it's 15 quid to get in. And all these people are on. It'll be great. And you've got Billy Butler there, you know, there's no one better to host the show than Billy. I always remember giving a talk at the Bridewell. Billy was the master of ceremonies. He was funny. He was great. He really was. And that was for David Guest at the Bridewell a few years ago now. And it was good. So, you know, you'll be getting a good master of ceremonies there with Billy. Everybody knows Billy. Anyway, so that's that night. I'll be doing this again next week on the History Show because we can't let these people down. These people, it'll be a great night. 15 quid. Come on. Be fantastic. I'm going to show you a couple of things anyway. Just let me hang on. Just let me do this. Again at the Cavern on the 1st of October. And it'll be a great night, this. It really will. And there's prizes, raffles, live bands, late bar, road show. Everything is on there on the 1st of October next week. that one. It's on the 8th of November. The 8th of November. Okay, so let's have a look at the slides here. Look at that. And that is the picture of St. James's Cemetery. 2 pictures taken from each side. And what you've got the big house, which is there. And that's the site of the Anglican Cathedral today. That big white house. And the cemetery was actually designed by John Foster Jr. John Foster Jr. I think it was one of his first projects, actually. One of his first. Well, he's only ever designed one cemetery anyway. And that big house was the head gardener's home, the big white house there. It was a fantastic cemetery. When you actually look at it, I know, cemeteries like, but then again, it's absolutely fantastic. It really is. When you look and get the history behind it, some unbelievable stuff. Really unbelievable stuff. And that's that. That's a great print, 2 great prints. And there's what you've got as well, there's mausoleums in there. Mausoleums. And there's also water coming out of they made it into like a fountain now where the water just comes out, and they didn't know the source of where the water came from. And even the Royal Infirmary at the time, today, said that the water that comes out of there, if you put it on your eyes, if you got sore eyes, it does it good. It does your eyes good. Think about that. Just think about that. Absolutely amazing. Well, that's a great, if you're ever, not saying now, but if you're ever in Liverpool, just have a walk around there and see some of the graves. And these graves there is none of Kitty Wilkinson, one of the greatest people, females ever, philanthropist, helped the poor. Helped the poor. Wonderful lady. And if you look at the top picture, you'll see like a little white thing in the middle of it. Monument dedicated to Huskisson, William Huskisson, one of the founders of the first passenger railway system in the entire world. He was actually killed by the rocket when he slipped, and the rocket carrying George Stephenson and the Iron Duke himself, Wellington, and he just slipped, severed his leg, and he bled to death, unfortunately. And that's his monument there. It's great, just go and have a look at it. It's fantastic. Again, John Foster Jr. designed it. And I love this. Absolutely love this. And when you look at that particular print, what you've got St. Nick's Church, which is there now, right just more or less the centre of it. And the other tall building is the second tower building. The first tower building went up in 1301. No, it didn't. Yeah, it did. 1301 or before. There's no records of when it really went up. But people just say 1301. I'd say it was well before then. I'd say around 1260 or something like that. But anyway, that's the second tower building, built by Sir James Picton, another great architect, poet, you name it, this fellow was Sir James Picton. And if you look at the foreground, you see like a shed, don't you? I think they got that out of B&Q. Yes, B&Q. Because look at it. Like the shed you have down the bottom of a garden. But it is, isn't it? But why this is so significant and why I love this is look at the bridge. If you look at the bridge carefully, what you see is this. What you see is this. You see a Venetian bridge. A Venetian bridge. That's what you're looking at. The lights and the just crossing over the canals in Venice. That's what they copied. And that's fantastic. I love it. I really, really love it. Because what you see on the extreme right, you've got like a warehouse on the extreme right of it. And that's where the Liver building is today. The Liver. Of St. Nick's Church, the original steeple came down in 1812. A lad named James Harrison from Chester, he designed what you see today, the steeple. That's what you see today. The unfortunate thing, when the steeple came down, the bells were heavy. Unfortunately, it was ringing for the service and it collapsed. And it killed the bell ringer and 14 young girls from the charity school who were right directly underneath it. Sad, so sad. And I love this one as well, because what you've got in the background there, the wonderful custom house. Again, I mentioned John Foster Jr. Building the likes of the cemetery, St. James's Cemetery, planning it out. And he also built the 5th custom house. That was the 5th custom house, went up in 1828. And it's so sad when you look at, I go mad, because what you've got there now is a fantastic, really a fantastic building. Look at the colour of it. Remember, I've said this in the past, the colour of it. It's just like the stone of St. George's Hall and all the neoclassical buildings around. Imagine that today, facing the Albert Dock. Imagine it. Imagine that being a museum today, a Liverpool museum. And he pulled it down when it could have easily have been saved. And they're the upsetting things. They're the upsetting things about everything. Anyway, what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask Jason to play that clip, see if you like it, and we'll see you after the break.
It's a very, very difficult question to answer that, because there's so many, there are so many people who have formed Liverpool. So many, both female and, obviously male. Now, the thing is, I could go back to a wonderful man named John Cross, because on the 23rd of December, 1565, a hurricane hit Liverpool, and it blew away all, the Tudor buildings, and they just left a couple of stone ones together. The likes of the castle, the likes of the little town hall, and it was little at the time, and the Tower building, Now, they were made from stone. Absolutely amazing, right? So he looked around. You're talking 1565. You're talking Christmas Eve. And there was deaths as well, unfortunately. People were injured. Now, this man, I'm just being subjective, but I think he was the first person, who had the spirit of Liverpool. Because he gathered them around Christmas Eve. They had nothing. They had absolutely nothing. The houses were destroyed. And he said, please don't go away. Let's build Liverpool. Let's build them. And let's build it from stone. And from that moment on, that spirit of Liverpool became part of our heritage because we stayed and those people stayed and they built everything from stone. So therefore Liverpool in 1566 became the very first stone township. So, we could say the likes of John Cross, what a fella, And he was Lord Mayor at the time, he was the mayor at the time. So, but you can go on about Kitty Wilkinson. What a wonderful person, absolutely amazing person. She went into the depths of diseased places and cared for people. She took in waifs and strays. She did the washing, for people because Liverpool, the first time she was ever doing it was in the 1830s. Liverpool was suffering from terrible cholera. And what had happened, she said, well, all the germs are in the clothing and even in the bedclothes, So she used lime, diluted, obviously, but it killed the germs. So she had this wonderful passion for the people of Liverpool, not just the wealthy who lived in the leafy suburbs, because she did charge them, because the charge she made to them, she did the poorer classes for free, because she seen that suffering. What a wonderful person she was, Agnes Jones. Agnes Jones came here in 1860 and, set up like a nursing profession. In fact, the nursing system is still going today that she formed, Agnes Jones, and she went into she looked after these terrible diseased people, Tony, and it took a toll on her. And unfortunately, she died, with these people who she was looking after. Then, you could go on to the likes of military. And there was this wonderful, compassionate man who went out, he joined the Liverpool Scottish. He was a wonderful surgeon, at the Royal Southern Hospital. And he was the first to enlist, and he went over. He wanted to look after his men. He wanted to, save their lives. And he was the only man to win a WVC during the 1914-18 conflict. Well, in any war, to be honest. And, his second Victoria Cross was awarded posthumously because he was killed looking after his men. It's as simple as that. And his name was Noel Shavas. Now, so I really couldn't say, who would like to be, whether it's male or female. It's just that it is a fantastic question. It really is. Even like the people today, the likes of Ken Dodd. I love Ken Dodd simply because he's a compassionate man. He loves Liverpool. Would I like to be him? Yeah. Love to be him. Would I like to be the likes of, say, Daniel Craig, James Bond? Could I make a good James Bond? I don't know about that, but would I like to be him? So it's the past, the present, and even in the future, because you're going to get people from Liverpool who are going to excel, when we're well and truly gone, because our kids and grandkids, they'll see these people who are going to excel, and they'll be talking about the likes of Daniel Craig, the likes of the wonderful Ken Dodd, going right back to John Cross, Noel Shavas, Kitty Wilkinson, and the wonderful lady Agnes Jones. We just had the capital of culture, the European capital of culture. We celebrated our 800th birthday not so long ago neither. And, it holds us in good health, in other words. It holds us in good health. And more people are coming back to the roots. So the population's rising now. We've got this wonderful new quarter, the Grosvenor, the Paradise Project as it was known, and now it's Liverpool 1. It's all built up. It's absolutely fantastic. More and more people are coming into Liverpool now to do business, to shop and whatever. The more, Liverpool people, obviously, they're enjoying this newfound, shall we say, economic success, because Liverpool now is on the rise. We were in the doldrums. This great port of ours, has never ever gone away. We have wonderful history. It's absolutely fantastic, and that's why I actually did the series, the Unraveled series, to tell people about our wonderful history. And, we know for a fact that there's more to Liverpool than the Beatles and football, and entertainment, because you've got the sciences, you've got the engineers, you've got everything, and it's all stemmed from Liverpool. So, Liverpool's on the rise. Liverpool's going to be great again. If it's not great now, we love Liverpool. That's why we're so diverse from the rest of the country, because we love this city. We're proud of our roots, and we love each and every fellow Scouser and adopted Scousers, because, you have many people who come to Liverpool, love it, stay, and they become adopted Scousers, so it's just wonderful. I am delighted for the future of Liverpool, because it's like the phoenix. We've risen, and I don't think that we could go on that downward spiral again. Let's hope that we don't, and let's keep our Scouse proud intact, for future generations.
How about that? I was just all in one straight down. I had to I don't like looking at myself, and I looked at that for the first time. Oh, for the first time, believe it or not. Genuine now. Genuine. My word, Frank, you must have been a year in 2007, yes. You said it was just after the 800th anniversary. Yeah, it was. It was, Mark. Redbird. You make us Scousers so proud, Frank. Thank you so much, Redbird. Thank you. Appreciate that. I really do. Thank you. Thank you so much, Redbird. A lot of people settle here, students stay after studying here, footballers stay here, even waif and strays all over the hill, bricklayers settle here. It's a boss city, say Stephen Snee. And Stephen is he calls himself a woolly back, but he's not, he's an adopted Scouser now. Proud. He's proud. And Charlie Wood says, interesting clips, Fran, and all people outside the area skank, call us the bin dippers. Yes. Yeah. I hate that. I don't hate anything. I really don't. But I hate those people who come from out of town to support their club and call us for everything. In Liverpool slums, bin dippers, murderers, you name it, we get called it. But we rise above all that. Always have done, always will do. always. I wish my ma was alive. She would have loved you, says Redbird. Thank you. Do you know, I keep saying this. When I was in hospital, I was dying in hospital. And this doctor come over, stethoscope around him, and he went, Francis Carlyle, he was looking at his thing, Francis Carlyle. I went, yeah, I was dying. And he said, you're not known as Frank Carlyle, are you? I said, yeah. He went, my mum loves you. Oh, sisters love me. I get told that all the time. Thank you, Redbird. Thank you. Well, that's lovely. I ate Manx and Southern softies, says Redbird. Yeah, I was on, I go on streams, not football streams. And everyone was mentioning, they come from all around the world. And I just said hello from Liverpool, UK, because this was an American thing. This man come up, someone, something mank, he said. And he is very derogatory towards me. Very. I don't know whether he got banned because I've never seen him since. Never seen him since. That's what we get. Liverpool banned, right? But anyway, that's by the by. My dad was called Frank, says Redbird. Charlie Blood. I get told, you're just like me granddad. Do you know what? Someone mentioned, who was it? Oh, it's Tommy Batty. He said, he was talking to the two young girls, two Irish girls, and they were just chatting, They weren't doing anything improper or anything, they were just chatting. And they were on holiday. And the girl said to Tommy, do you know what? You're just like my granddad. Well, because he was polite. Sends you down. I'll just say these two and get on with this thing. Frank, I still laugh when I said to you about Kirkdale Gold, but I said Kirkdale hanging place. You said it sounded like someone hanging out the washing. You're right, you're did. Someone hanging out there, the hanging place, yeah. Hang out the washing there. Bully smack, I like it. Yes. Redbird. Have you a middle name, Frank? My dad was called Francis George, but like you people called him Frank. Yeah, my name's Francis Dominic Carlyle Calucci. How about that? Eh? FTC. I'm going to, so you're right, Redbird. Redbird, if you ever want to go on the pod, let me know. I'll have you on. You're a good red. Right, I'm going to do this murder. Oh, the murder. Anyway, what it is, it's the Bairns and Devlin. The Bairns and Devlin. And this was on the 19th of February, 1953 at St. George's Hall, Assizes. And the judge was Mr. Justice Finnemore. And the prosecution, Mr. Basil Need, King's Counsel. Defence Miss Rose Heilbron, again, KC, King's Counsel for Devlin, I'm sorry, and Sir Noel Goldie, King's Counsel for Baines. So this is the Baines and Devlin murder trial. And the prosecution says on the 20th of August 1951 at 7 Cranmore Road, Tom Rimmer arrives at his mother's home, Alice Rimmer, 54, couldn't get an answer, forced his way in, found his mother badly beaten and dead. And the cause of death was a fractured skull, loss of blood. Imagine that, loss of blood, you know, so it must have been a savage attack. Loss of blood. And there was 20 blows to the head, which resulted in a frenzied attack. Think about that. Frenzied attack. And there's a detective inspector, Hector Taylor, and he took charge of the investigation. And by September, there was no results, no clues. So the investigation stalled. And who did they bring in? Chief Superintendent Bert Barmer. And he was drafted in to take charge of this thing, to get quick results. Now, we all know Barmer. He got results, no matter what. He got results. And he was one of those people who bullied right through his life as a policeman. Bullied. So he wants results quickly himself. So what does Barmer do? Barmer knows a grass person who snitches on people in Walton Jail, a fella named George McLaughlin. So he goes up there and he interviews him. And McLaughlin was in Walton Jail for burglary. And he actually burgled his own auntie's house. So he got caught and he was put in jail. But by this, anyway, think about it. He's in grass, he's in jail. Barmer wants quick results. And I mean quick results. And Barmer decided, strangely enough, that the burglary was planned and executed by two men. Not one, not 3, 4, 5, 6, but two men. How did he know that? How did he know it? How did he know that it was executed by two men? So he went up to McLaughlin and he said, do you know anyone, two burglars who work together? And then all of a sudden, Baines and Devlin were mentioned after the interview. That's strange. Baines and Devlin, who were both known to Barmer himself. They were both known. So Barmer knew them. Yet he goes up to this grass in Walton Jail and said, Do you know two burglars who worked together? Because he was convinced, but he wasn't convinced, he just came out and said this burglary and murder was by two men. Two men. So what was said then was that the job at 7 Cranmore Road was actually planned because he told Burns and Devlin, this is McLaughlin, told Burns and Devlin about a Mrs. Rimmer who had a lot of money and it was stashed in the house, planted in the house, stashed somewhere. And then there was a girl named June Barry, 20, and Barmer went up to her and he said, you're the girlfriend, aren't you, of Devlin? And she said, yeah. So what? So he tried to draft her into the plan. And she said, hang on a minute. No, I wasn't nowhere near Liverpool and neither were they. And he said, can you prove? She said, yeah, I was in hospital, which she was. So he has a little bit of a wobble. Whoa, hospital, yeah, you couldn't be there, could you? No. So he goes back to McLaughlin. And he says, this Burns and Devlin, what was you supposed to do? What did you do? Oh, well, I went in the entry and, I give them a lift up over the wall. Oh, okay. Is that the plan? Yeah, so that they could go in. So this, when McLaughlin says this, puts him right in the crime scene, right in the middle of the crime scene. Right in the middle of it. By being there and a witness to say about Burns and Devlin, pulling them over, throwing them over the wall. So Berry told Barmer, this is this girl, she never left Manchester on the day of the crime because, as you know, she was in hospital. But Berry told Barmer she might know the girl who went with Burns and Devlin on the night of the crime. So how come she just come here? Oh, yeah, I know a girl who might have gone along with them. And the girl's name was 17-year-old Maria Milne, who was a prostitute and the girlfriend of Burns. And when interviewed, told Barmer she waited for Burns and Devlin at 6 p.m. on the day of the 19th of August. This is the day of the murder. And their job was to keep a woman busy at the front door of Cranmore Road while Burns and Devlin robbed the house. But they didn't show at the rendezvous. They didn't show there. And Milne said, later I met them at the Rialto. And from there, what they did, they got on a bus to do jumping on a bus to do a burglary. Oh, that was handy, wasn't it? And Milne's job was to go to Mrs. Rimmer's, she said. Instead, she returned to the Rialto and waited for them. Now, I want you to remember this. She went back to the Rialto, as she said. Now, this girl is a 17-year-old. She's never been to Liverpool before. She knows where the Rialto is. See what I mean? And when they returned, they had blood on them. Milne overheard, now this is the 17-year-old girl, Devlin and Burns say, "Will the old lady live?" And Burns said, "To hell with the old woman. We'll be out of Liverpool before long and we'll take Maria with us." Think about it. You're bound to take the girl with you, aren't you? You're bound. Well, you're bound to take her. But she overheard, "Oh yeah, and we'll take Maria." Supposedly they brought her down there, and supposedly she's supposed to talk to this woman while they got over the wall with McLaughlin. McLaughlin helped them over the wall to do the burglary. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. The defence argued that Burns and Devlin had been nothing more than circumstantial, no proof whatsoever. None whatsoever. And Burns and Devlin, known criminals, were at a totally different location on the day and night of the murder. They were at a different location, and the location was in Manchester, where they were actually burgling a warehouse with another man named Alan Campbell. And they were robbing a warehouse, Sun Blinds Limited, Great Jackson Street, Manchester, on the 19th of August. That night, Mrs. Rimmer was found murdered. So how could they be in two places at the same time? How? Before they went to rob Burns and Devlin and Campbell went on a pub crawl and left the Ship Inn, at 11:30 to do the job. This is the job of Sun Blinds. This is the job of Sun Blinds. The burglary of a warehouse. Stayed in Burns' mother's house in Medlock Street after the robbery in Manchester. So this trial lasted 10 days. And on the 25th of April, 1952, what do you think happened to Burns and Devlin? What do you think happened? So no one's getting hold of it. Well, okay, I'll tell you what happened on the 25th of April, 1952. Both Burns and Devlin were hanged side by side. And have a guess, Judy. And have a guess who hanged them. Boughs of Flowers. Burns and Devlin sounds familiar to me, Frank. Most probably you read about it. Got arrested for murder and found guilty, says Redbeard. Yep. Right, so the defence. They said, didn't know who McLaughlin was, never heard of him. They didn't know him. They didn't know him. They were not seen at the crime scene. No one's seen them. No one's seen this girl. If you go back, you're going back to August 1952. And if you think about it, when I was a kid, people were always out talking to one another. Neighbours, not like today where you're just stuck in the house and you speak to nobody. They were out talking to one another because they lived so close to one another. And a summer's day, August, they talked to one another. And these lads weren't seen. They weren't seen. This girl who was supposed to go to the house wasn't seen. And what you've got to think of is that, I don't like saying this because it sounds sexist, but it's not. It's the way it was at the time. How did a prostitute dress? How did they dress? Sorry to say this again, but prostitutes knew the way they dressed. You know, a good sign girl, albeit that she was only 17. But no one seen this girl. Nobody seen these lads. Baines and Devlin. Not a soul. Not a defo stitch up. You reckon that young girl was made to lie, says Redbird. And this is a very good point. Neighbours talked loads before TV and radio, absolutely. And who had a telly then in 1952? Hey, who had a telly? Who had a TV? Putting the telly on? No one. Nobody. I always remember a Mrs. Mulcahy. So she got a telly in and everybody rushed. All the kids watching Andy Pandy and the flower pot men. Little kids sitting there watching this telly. Could you imagine like a kid today sitting looking at a very small screen, black and white, and going up like this? You know, pictures are awful. So, I like the comments. So, not seen, nor enter nor leave the premises. These are the two lads. They were not at the scene of the crime. No major weapons had been discovered. Nothing was there discovered. However, fingerprints were found. They were found, fingerprints, but they were not of Baines or Devlin. Baines or Devlin. Many witnesses for Baines and Devlin's alibis on the night. There was loads of them. Albeit blood was found on the clothing of Baines. So what do you think? What do you think? Hey, what do you think? All the evidence there, you know, you could easily say, oh, well, then again, you know, if blood was found on Devlin, Baines. But the forensics said they could not match them to Mrs. Rimmer. Could not match them to Mrs. Rimmer. Think about that. And the blood found in Mrs. Rimmer's home, besides her own, was different blood type to that of Burns, and there was no match for Devlin either. And the only witness for the prosecution was this terrified 17-year-old prostitute, Maria Milne. And Maria Milne, believe it or not, albeit she has an anglicised name, was an illegal immigrant. Think about that. Think about that. And why was she terrified in the witness box? Albeit she wasn't seen at the crime. She wasn't even seen at the Rialto where she said she was. No one recognised her. Nobody. No one said that a young girl was sitting in there waiting for two lads. Even the lads weren't in there. Where she said, oh yeah, I met them in the Rialto. It just shows you, doesn't it, though? Everything that was stated by the prosecution, none of it was true. None of it. And that's the sad thing when you come to think that people who get pulled in and get hanged. Burns and Devlin did not do those murders. They didn't do them. They were set up because, as you know, one of the most corrupt policemen in the force was Bert Balmer. And that's in the annals of the judicial system, police annals. So let's see what happens here. The Vase of Flowers says, my mum said they got a telly in the early to mid 60s when she was about 11, 13. Yeah. Yeah, watching the neighbours' black and white TV through the window. Those were the days, eh, Frank? So I was told. Behave yourself, Red Beard. So you were told. But you was one of them looking through the window. Found not guilty this time. And I was Frank, no. As you know, he got hanged by peer points again. Probably threatened her with deportation if she didn't. Yes, you're spot on. Of course. Of course. She didn't comply. It's shocking. It's shocking. And they had witnesses. They had loads of witnesses from the pub crawl. And as I said, they walked out at 11:30 that night out of the pub to go back to Burns's mother's. Now, you could have taken away if you served after hours and the pub shut down at 10 o'clock in the night. This was 11:30. Again, threatened. And Charlie Wood says women didn't go to the pubs and clubs on their own in the 50s. She would have stood out like a sore thumb. Of course, she would have done. Of course, Charlie. Of course. And that's the way it was. How did you like those two murders? How did you like them? No? Not telling me. Okay. Okay. Shows you though, as the verse says, they're interesting, that, Frank. You've got people who, I don't know. I don't know. You see people who are strangely, you've got a jury there. I'd love to be in the criminal court with you, and I'll show you the outlay. Every time I've brought people into a court, I've showed them the outlay of where the prosecution is and where the defense is, where the jury is. Show you, you'll understand why. Juries are intimidated. Juries are intimidated. They really are, believe you me, especially going back to those days. And Redbird say, oh, you're a brilliant narrator, Frank. Those stories were fascinating, and I hope to hear more. Yes, you will. Taking a peek back in time to the relatively recent past, like the 50s, seems like a long time back, but it's the blink of an eye in the grand scheme of history. Yep. It's like our life. I mention a quote. I mention a quote by Shakespeare, and it's out, brief candle. That's what it is. Out, brief candle. That's your life. It's minuscule in the whole of the thing, the globe, and in time. You've just got to grab something and hold on to it if you value it, because out, brief candle, you're the flame. Gone. Just gone. Out, brief candle. It's a horrible, it's a fantastic quote, but it's horrible at the same time when you come to think of it. When you come to think of out, brief candle, because that's your life. You light the flame, you blow it out, bang, your life's gone. It's gone. When we all pass on, and in 100 years' time, who'll remember us? You're well and truly forgotten. Even your family. Even your family. You know, your descendants. Forgotten. Forgotten. Mark Innes says, there was a programme made in Everton area of Liverpool in the 1950s showing life in Liverpool and showing the kids playing. Forget the name of it now, since I've seen it. Could be anything, Mark. There's loads, things like that. Stephen Snape says, just shows you how miscarriages of justice can occur when the police don't pursue the perpetrators because an innocent person suits their narrative. The police have murdered several people and it's gone unpunished. It's a travesty, says Stephen Snape. Yeah, totally agree, because how many people have been hanged? If you let me know before I shut the show, if you want me to do another 2 next week. You'll be on Sunday night casebook next, Frank, says Charlie. But that bit says, when you see old pictures and shows where all these black people who the woke propaganda say we're all here all the time, I'm practically built our country. Yeah. Can't mention anything against woke, unfortunately. Can't say nothing no more. That's how they control the voice. They control the voice. There's Russell Brand. He's been stitched up, unfortunately, because he was against the narrative of what's going on today. And the big money earners of pharmaceuticals and wars. I know it's off the topic, but there's a book being promoted by the Bullers, says black people built Stonehenge. Yeah. I'm actually going up to York Student Union next month, I think in a couple of weeks, to give a speech about the identity of Liverpool. The identity of Liverpool. And I'm looking, you get your petrol money in that. I don't think any of my family could take me up at all. Anyway. Enjoyed the stories, Frank. And do another 2, love them. Night, Frank, night all. All right, then. Do them for you, sweetheart. Defo, it's a big fat yes from me, Frank, says Redbird. They doing Assange, yeah, says Redbird. Yes, they are on Russell. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's on anyone now. It's on anyone. They could grab anyone if you're against a narrative, a certain narrative, and you're coming out with all this spiel. Don't forget, he has over 6 million people looking at him, and that frightened them. Let's get him on something. Let's shut him down. So freedom of speech is gone. But I've said that for years now. You can't say nothing. And this is where they brought in the likes of woke and these pronouns. What the hell is that all about? It's just nuts. We can't be ourselves anymore. Even Snape. I'd love to hear that a few in York won't like what you're going to say. No. Redbird, no, they're not. It's called The Identity of Liverpool. I was on a documentary called, what is it? This is how he got hold of me, actually. Scouse not English, why Liverpool is so different from the rest of the country. And then they've seen that, they've seen a couple of others as well. They've seen them videos, them DVDs, and then they heard of me and then they said, will you come up? I said, yes, sure, no problems. They only want to shut the truthers up. Most people. Yeah, says Redbird. That's a good point, actually. They are brainwashed sheep. Yeah, Frank, please do more. But I like that quote as well. They only want to shut the truthers up. Most people today are brainwashed. Aspirational bookish Scouse men rousing on drunkards in mourning in the streets was funny. I was doing a DVD, one of those DVDs, and it was early in the morning. And I had to walk around the corner. I had to walk around this corner. And it was a Sunday morning, and it was early. I wanted to get it done. So anyway, the camera was behind, he's over down the street. So I had to walk around and start talking. So I walked around, and I didn't notice there was a fella standing in the doorway. And I walked around, and I opened my mouth, but it tripped. And this fella ran over and said, "You're all right, lads. Haven't you been home since last night? This is a Sunday morning." He thought I was drunk on him. I said, "I'm filming, mate." He said, "Come on, you're all right now." I thought I was talking to myself, and I was drunk, and I was tripped up, and picked me up. Early Sunday morning. It was about 7:30. It was nice and sunny as well. Let's see what this. Stephen Snake. This country needs an initial cyberspace revolution, then take it to the streets. Freedom of expression isn't just being quelled, it's being quashed. As a collective, we need our voices heard. Those days, Stephen, I'm not being, those days have gone where we did, we rose, but those days are gone, unfortunately. Because now what you've got is, the police have got the powers to arrest, and they will arrest. There's no gatherings anymore. It's become a police state. Corrupt police state, by the way. That's in my opinion. Frank, got some great news for you as well. As my voluntary work, I do hopefully going back to college next year, looking into English literature. Thought I'd let you know. Mark, that's good. English lit is brilliant. As you know, I still teach it today. Redbird, in 2016, they found the oldest human remains. DNA test prove they were young, but it was quickly shut down to get people believe the lie. We all from Africa. Don't certain people just love that? Violent Playground was set in Liverpool. Not many Scousers in it, though. Look out for the very young Freddie Starr. Charlie? I was in it. Did you know that? It was in Jerry Gardens that I was brought up. violent playground. I had it here, and I gave it to someone. Forget who I gave it to. I forget who I gave it. It wasn't long ago either. I said, yeah, you can have that. Because I haven't got a DVD anymore. Mark Kinnish, I went to night school, says Vase of Flowers, aged 21 and discovered Shakespeare. I bought Othello for £12 and still have it. I don't recall Shakespeare from school. What I used to do, I used to teach Shakespeare for the terrified. Did you know that? Vase? Me. Still do a lot of Shakespeare. Still do a lot of Shakespeare. To make me laugh. I'm glad that its use was gone. Frank was in Violent Playground, and he was an extra in the area, Jerry Garden, started right at, yes, just said that. Oh yeah, it's Jake, isn't it? Bless Frank. Hope you're well, bro. You never walk alone. Thank you, Jake Kismet. Thank you. Do you know what? I'm going to have Jake Kismet on. Vase of Flowers and Redbird. A show with me, a podcast with me. Let me know there. I know where Lee, Vase of Flowers would do. Let me know, Redbird. And you, Jake Kismet. I'm saying anything. Oh, that's lovely. That's lovely. Bless Frank, hope you're well, bro. You never walk alone. Thanks, Jake Kismet. Kenny Everett grew up in the next street to mine, Hereford Road. Kenny. Funny man, but he was a Tory. No, Frank, I love Shaky, so do I. So do I. I remember going, remember when we celebrated 21st birthdays, and I had to go to the Empire. I was at the Playhouse, I'm not quite too sure now. And I had to go and see Macbeth. And anyway, they were all shouting for me, and I shouted down, I'm going to see Macbeth. One of them shouted, bring him along as well, he'll be all right. You know, we'd invite. And I just went, yeah, okay. I'll see you later. I'll see you up at the house, because we had it in the house instead. And I went, came back to the house, went in as the lads, and he said, where's this, who did you say was coming with you? I said, Macbeth. He said, yeah, where is he? Do you want to be here? I never mentioned nothing. I didn't say anything. No names. I love Italians' adaptations of Shakespeare on film. I went into the Verona Amphitheatre and watched Macbeth in Italian. Me. And two black girls, funny enough. I was the only one. I thought I was the only one who was going. I was in a place called Lido di Eslo at the time. And I said, I want to go and see that. Because I've been to Verona, you see, and I've been to the amphitheatre, absolutely. Seen Aida in there, the opera. And these two black girls from Birmingham said, well, we'll go with you, you know. I said, okay. So the three of us went on a coach. Just went up. Brilliant. Brilliant. Italians love Shakespeare. Yeah, you're right there. Right. There's photos, I think, of David McCallum in Liverpool from Violet. Yeah, there are, Mark. I thought you were too young to be on the violent playground, Professor. Yes, that's what they all say. That's what they all say. Yeah, I was a little kid standing by the swings. Been interested tonight, Frank Carlyle. After you've invited all the others, and I'll be a bench. No, come on, no problem. No problem. I'll have you on there next week sometime, Stephen, if you want. That's no problem, mate. Told you that. I'll definitely, yeah. But I'd love Redbird and Jay Kismet. Great show as always, Frank. Jason, take care. See you all next week. Cracking, Frank. Verona, sweet as a nut. Yes. Oh, yes. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? You'll be telling us the Merchants of Venice was a Scouser next. Oliver Twist was. That's one good thing. Definitely. I would love to have learned Latin. It's a special language. Well, I think it is, says Redbird. In nomine Patria Filitus Spiritus Sancti. I had to learn Latin, not learn it as such, in depth, but I had to read, about these headstones of Roman soldiers that had died, when they died, what was the names, and quite interesting, actually. McCallum was a decent actor years ago. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was a bit daft, but worth a watch for nostalgic reasons. Yeah. And did you know Robert Vaughn was co-star? Bars of Flowers. True that. Brian, hello from Brazil. Hello, Brian from Brazil. From Brazil. This is unbelievable. Brazil. God. That's fantastic. Evening, George Scott, says Stephen Snape. George, I'll be with George tomorrow evening. And Marios. Great show again, Frank, says Charlie Wood. Thank you so much, Charlie. The Scally of Venice. Yeah. The love interest Scally in Verona. That's incredible. Perhaps you could learn Latin, but could a Latin speaker understand Scouse? Oh, there's a linguistic comment. Yeah, it's just like my Italian. No one can understand me. I remember learning the Mass in Latin before they started it in English. Yes, that's right, Charlie. Then all of a sudden, all Latin Masses were there kaput. The only people that can say, the only things that, what is it? It was the Pope who quashed all Latin Masses, and they had to say it in their own language. And the only people who can actually say Mass in Latin are the Jesuits. The Jesuits. I did a lecture on Opus Dei, and they were rootless people. Rootless people. He's at an honest phone, perhaps. Is that Brian, is it? What's he doing? Street carnival in Brazil. Brazil. Frank, it would be an honour to come on your show, but I have a medical affliction which won't allow me to. I won't go into it because I'm not after sympathy. We all have our yeah and all that. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Shame that red bird. Shame. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Spike Milligan reckoned Catholic Mass in Latin when he lived in India made him a lover of silly sounding voices. Yeah. Spike Milligan. The devil hates Latin. I think the Pope is not. In fact, he himself is a Jesuit. Yes. So some believe the devil as the hot seat in the Vatican. Jake Kismet, do you fancy coming on a podcast? Let me know. Not tomorrow, but on Thursday. Let me know. If you can't let me know, let's Vase of Flowers or Redbird. I know. Please. But I need details. I need like an email so I can get you on. Talk sense. Stephen Sleep. Steve, it's 8 minutes past, Frank. Behave. Do you know what? I was only mentioning this today. It's like saying ta-da, you know, in a party, you're at a party. Listen, I'm getting off now. Ta-da, I'm going around, giving them all a kiss, shaking hands and hugging them and whatever. And then you go out, you're ta-da, and they're all saying ta-da, ta-da. And then you walk out and you've forgotten something. You have to walk back. So embarrassing. So embarrassing. I'll be finishing now, boys and girls. I feigned illness to avoid being dragged into the Liverpool city centre to see John Paul II whiz in the Pope Mobile. I was there. I was about 8. I was there. I was there seeing Pope John Paul up by, I'll tell you where it was, by the building. Past. Okay, I will let you know, Frank, if you can address. I'll email you. Okay. Listen, it's Jason. Jason, are you still there? Because you can put my email address up. I think Jason's gone to bed. I can't put it up, you see. I can't put it up. Tell you, if you've got Vase of Flowers or Vase of Flowers got yours, he'll send 8 o'clock tomorrow, Vase of Flowers. 8. Bless bro, Redbirds, we're all family here. Nah, man. Yeah. Hang on. Just hang on a mo. Jay Kismet. It's on the bottom of the screen or in show description on the bottom of the screen. Yeah. It's on the bottom of the screen or in show description. Jason is the producer of this and the podcast. So if you go onto the podcast thing, it'll show you the email. Oh, that's great. I'll get you on for Thursday. Thank you. So listen, I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're there anyway. If you're Reds and you like the football, just tune in tomorrow. It should be fun, I think. Anyway, it's just for me to say, we can see it, Frank. It's on the banner. Excellent stuff. Good night, people. Buenas noches, says Vaz. Jay Kismet. Perfect. Got the email address, Frank. Proper lads. Proper Reds. And if the likes of, Stephen Snape will be on next week. Charlie Woods, I want Charlie to come on. If you're there, Charlie, next week. So I'll have Jay Kismet and Vaz. It's a pity Redbeard couldn't come on. It's a pity Redbeard couldn't come on with those two. Jay Kismet and Vaz of Flowers. These are good lads. I just want to say a big thank you to the sponsors of the Frank Carlyle show, Gap Painting Services. And don't forget, if you're going anywhere, get to this on the 8th. No, it's not. Yeah, the 8th of, hang on a minute. I don't know when it is. Yeah, the 8th of November. I'll be giving you more next week anyway. And also, I never did the others today. I'm sorry about that. And this one here, the road show. I forgot to do it in Prince, but anyway, rocking on at the oldie, prizes, raffles, live bands, Lake Bar, road show, the Cavern, the 1st of October next week, 7 p.m. What date's that on? 1st of October. I'll get it anyway. So anyway, people, it's just for me a big thank you for everybody tuning in tonight. You're the most important people. A big thank you to Jason, the producer. A big thank you to the sponsor, Gap Painting Services. And hopefully, that's lovely. Peace and blessings, people. Thank you so much. That's lovely. And I'll see you tomorrow night on the show. And next week, I'll be doing a couple of more murders next Monday. Thank you so much. And if anybody's out there who wants to get in touch, please do. Thank you.